Hello, LabCoatAgents. Good to see everybody again. Thanks for joining us today. Got a special guest on, Cindy Ertman, founder, CEO of the Defining Difference, and I'm anxious to see what I can learn from Cindy today. Cindy was one of the top loan originators in the country for over a decade, and then started to chase your passion and going to coaching and consulting. And you and I were talking, Cindy, just before the call, the mastering the art of the connection. That's where it all comes from, and that's what we're going to take a deep dive on today. So I don't want to hold this up. I'm anxious to get to the content. So Cindy, welcome. Excited to have you on, and looking forward to diving into the art of the connection to generate more leads, clients, and closings. Hand raised here. I'm interested.
Great. Thanks, Jason. And thanks, Tristan, for having me. Excited to be with you all today. And we are talking about one of my favorite subjects, which really is the art of connection, because that really is at the end of the day, we can have all the tactics in the world as to how to build a business, but it really is about being relatable and connecting at a deeper level. And clearly with what has happened through 2020 and COVID being such a big part of our life and continues to be, we had to find new ways to connect. All of us did. I mean, with open houses going away for so long and people being scared to have people in their home. And, I read a statistic yesterday that really surprised me, Jason, that 65% of all homes in 2020 were bought without the buyer ever seeing the property. I had never heard that stat before.
Did you wait, 65?
That's what it said. And that was, this was a video by RPM's CEO, and he said there was an article in the LA Times, which I will have to pull up. I thought that was an extremely higher number, but clearly there were a lot of homes purchased through COVID with people not actually seeing the property, or certainly not prior to making the offer. So, I just wanted to share that, obviously when April 1st, 2020 hit, the world kind of for all of us came to an end, right? I mean, we didn't know what was ahead of us. Everything just came to a stop. People were losing their jobs right and left. And I do remember waking up that day, leading a coaching and training company. And I remember having my own little private pity party on a Friday afternoon and going, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do as an industry? How are we going to serve people? Not knowing what's ahead. And this is before interest rate drop and the refi boom exploded. And I mean, property values soared through the roof. So it was before any of that hit. And I just remember saying, what can I do right now? So the decision I made with my team on that Friday is, I'm going to lead a webinar just to give back. I'm not selling anything. And I'm going to do a webinar called How to Manage During Challenging Times. We built it on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I put one email out on a Monday and one Facebook post on a Monday and delivered the webinar that Wednesday. And we had almost 600 people on the webinar.
Wow.
And what that told me was how much people needed help and support to go through such a challenging time. And when we don't know what's ahead, right? And so, and then, I did it again 2 weeks later. And I thought, what do we need in the real estate industry? We need to know how to build a referral network and stay connected in a virtual world. So I did a whole bunch of research with my team. We put together another, and I had about 650 people show up for that webinar. So people just needed support around a very challenging time. But as 2020 began to unfold and business, certainly in the mortgage space, exploded, biggest mortgage year in mortgage history, 2020, who would have ever thought? Property values continue to go through the roof. In fact, just saw stats yesterday in the state of California where I live, that our average purchase price in California is $800,000. Now that's a huge state. Obviously in Southern California, but that's first time in history, market first time in history. So I just, it reminded me actually of my biggest year in the mortgage industry, where all the stars are aligned. You build the right team, you do all the steps, you have everything set. Suddenly the stars align, property values are strong, appraisals are strong, interest rates are low. And boom, that's when I hit 200 million in personal production that year. And I saw my own client base. Some people were really prepared for that boom, right? They had their systems dialed in, they had their teams, but they pivoted very quickly in a really challenging market. And they had an incredible year. Others, not so much, because they were not prepared for that market that we went into. And so I spent a lot of 2020 helping people kind of realign their business, pivot their business model, figure out how to build relationship and stay in touch. And so that's why I'm passionate about this subject right now. So I'm going to jump in here. I do have a PowerPoint with some slides, and feel free to take some pictures and all that if you want to. And also, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat. I love Q&A and would be more than happy to jump on Q&A with any of you, because this is a really, it's such a big topic, right? And I want you to really think about, you know, what building deeper relationships can mean for you. I started my career as a realtor, was in real estate for many years before I transitioned into the lending world, and obviously spent my life working with realtors. But the thing that I did differently as a mortgage professional is I spent every waking moment trying to figure out how I could help my partners build and grow their business. It wasn't about me. And so as you're looking at building and growing your own businesses, realizing the connection piece is not about you. You know, and when I get up and I do speaking engagements and I teach and I train and I do this, it's not about me, it's about you. So I am in complete and utter service to you. And I just want you to really, really know that that is where my heart is. So today we're going to talk about some things that are really key for me in terms of the trainings that I lead. And I'm going to make you, I'm hopeful I can just have you think a little bit differently today. I'd love to have you take some notes, because there's some things that I know if you will embrace that are going to change the game for you, because I have seen it change the game for so many of my clients. So discover your why and greatest strength, just getting clear on why you do what you do and what your genuine and core strengths are is so powerful in your business. And it's amazing, even talking to top producers and asking them what their greatest strengths are. And many just look at me like with a blank stare, and they're not clear. You know, they might know one, but they're not really clear what they are. And how do you convey those appropriately to build and grow your business if you're not clear? We're going to talk just a little bit about your defining values. Like, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of values and are your actions aligned with them? Because when we come into alignment, that's when everything starts to flow and it's not so hard to get new business. And then really mastering the art of connection. I have a training that I do called Connection to Conversion. It's almost a 90-minute training, but it really is on how to build deep connection very quickly. And I'll share a couple of success stories with you. And then how to execute a top 5 client program. I want to talk to you a little bit about how you're staying in touch with your past clients and how important that is to your business. And then very quickly, we're going to talk about elevating and expanding your virtual brand, because we are going to be in a virtual world forever. Yes, we're going to come back together. Everybody's busting at the seams to get back to normal, and we will. But we also know without doubt that we're going to be in a virtual world forever moving forward. And you're going to have a lot of people who are like, I'd rather do that online because look at how much time it saves. So we're going to talk about that. So look at what happened in 2020. I think we all found ourselves at a crossroads, right? What are we going to do? How do we maneuver this space? That's why so many people went into fear and doubt and uncertainty. It's a really hard place to be. And there were some really tough decisions to be made. And look, myself included, you know, you kind of want to roll under the covers and put them over your head. But the reality is, I've learned through going through a lot of adversity in my life that the only way to get through adversity and uncertain times is to get up and take a step forward each and every day, no matter how tough our circumstances are. Because life is always going to throw events at us that we don't have any control of. And it's about how we choose to show up, what kind of mindset we're tapped into to be able to get up and make the right choice. My whole coaching platform is around intentional choice. And the beauty with choice is that if we're not making the right choices today, or we've gotten off track, we can wake up tomorrow and make better choices. And that's what really coaching is all about, is helping people get clear on what they want, help them believe it is possible, and helping them redefine their choices so they make better decisions, action steps, hold them accountable so they can create really massive results in their business and their life. So I wanted to share this with you because this is something, take a picture of it, write it down. This principle literally changed my life, both in business and in my personal life. So in 2006, I met Jack Canfield at a conference in Las Vegas that I was attending. And Jack wrote all the chicken soup for the soul books. And many of you probably know he's the author of the Success Principles, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it. It's 64 success principles. In fact, I used to give that book to every new realtor that was starting in the business, just to give them a basis of understanding for how business works. But it's a great reminder if you get stressed out or you just need some reminders as to important things to think about how you lead your life. It's a great book. But I ended up training with Jack in 2009 while running a branch, raising 3 kids, running a region in Southern California, and being the #1 producer in my branch as well. And it was a lot on my plate, but I was really intrigued by Jack's work. So I spent a year with 100 trainers from around the world, training and learning a lot of his principles. And this was one that stood out. Events plus response equals outcome. So you look at COVID as an example, right? Like, you can't control the events of your life. We couldn't control that, but we can control how we respond 100% of the time to create the outcome that we desire. And many times we react in our life. I mean, it's very, very easy in the real estate market to react when something does not go right. That appraisal does not come in at value. A loan gets declined. We miss deadlines. I mean, it's so easy to just go off the rails and react and blame everybody in our path. But what I have trained myself to do, obviously being right is so overrated. It's like, what do we want the outcome to be? And let's mutually work towards that outcome. And I'll share with you really quickly a very personal experience in my own life where this came into play. And I went through a divorce when my 30-year marriage came to a halt. And it was a big deal. 30 years is a long time. And my biggest concern in going through that divorce was, how do I hold a family together with 3 amazing kids so they don't get broken in the process? And I lived by E plus R equals O every day. I couldn't control the event that was occurring completely. It wasn't all in my court, clearly. But I could control how I responded because I got very clear what outcome I wanted to create. And I got to tell you, last Christmas, when my son, my ex-husband, and my fiance were putting Christmas lights on my house, 10 years later, I created exactly what I set out to create. And we have a family that is completely intact. So this works in your personal life, and I've used it for years in my business as well. So I'm a huge Napoleon Hill fan. And for those of you that have never read Think and Grow Rich, I highly, highly recommend it. I never leaves my nightstand, but this is so true. You know, how many of us carry around the matches to burn down our own house, right? Our biggest enemy is what's between our ears. It's that little voice inside our head that says, you can't do this. Or, who do you think you are? And so we all carry that voice around. Statistically, we all have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and about 50% of them for most people are that negative voice. And so we have to train ourselves to overshadow that negative voice with our positive voice, because when you look at very successful people, and I study them, very successful people work on their mindset first. Tony Robbins said the #1 thing that differentiates success from non-successful people is attitude, and attitude is mindset. And so for people that go, oh, that's silly, I don't need to work on that. Well, go look at a successful person and ask them what they've done to become successful. And most have done a lot of work about how they show up in the world and their mindset, because stuff gets thrown at all of us, but it's how you overcome it. So we all have the ability to rewrite our own stories and to create our lives by design. But many of us, we just need the blueprint to follow, right? Along with the courage and support to make the change. Change is hard. And we all know that a lot of people won't create change until the pain of staying the same is just too great. Look, we all think that magical things are going to happen to us, and we just want to wake up and have our life better. But the reality is, we got to do the work. It's not going to magically change. We've got to do the work. I remember a great leader many years ago on the faculty of the mortgage training company, national training company that I was training for, said to me words very early in my career that changed my life. And he said, Cindy, nobody can make you be great. You have to want to be great. And something about those words, as simple as they are, really resonated with me. And I made a choice in that very day that I was going to be the best originator in the United States, and I was going to be great in every area of my life, and I was going to do whatever it took. And I've been on a journey to do that ever since. But that's a conscious choice. So I want to start with #1, which is discover your why and greatest strengths. I use this with everybody that I coach, because getting clear on your core strengths is so powerful, because even for realtors that are newer to the business, right? You may not have a ton of experience, but you have very genuine and unique gifts. And if you get clear on what those are in the context of how they serve your clients and your sellers and your buyers, there's great power in just tapping into your own strengths and shining a brighter light on it. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Really look within yourself to think about what are your core greatest strengths. Now, look, I know many of you have seen this over the years. This is my favorite of all time, Simon Sinek's TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. If you've never heard it, go type it into YouTube. I've seen it probably 100 times, and it's such a great reminder. But the thing is, it is true. Nobody cares how we do what we do. Nobody cares what we do. People care why we do what we do. And that taps into the heart. It's funny, I was talking to a realtor last week and we had this conversation, and I had asked a client of mine to do a why video on why he does what he does. And I'm sitting having a glass of wine with this realtor, and I played her this why video. Now, he lives in Phoenix, and she said, I am friends with one of the top producers in Phoenix, top realtors. This was a mortgage guy that did. I'm in Tom Ferry with her. She's amazing. She's like, send me this video. I want to send it to her. I sent her the video. She sent it to the realtor in Phoenix, who immediately set an appointment with this mortgage originator because his why video was so powerful. People want to support your why, but first you've got to get clear on what that really is for you. So I want you to think about your 3 core strengths. You go, what am I really great at? And so for me, communication has always been one of them. But I took it a step further in my mortgage business. I thought about, well, how does communication set me apart as an originator for my realtor partners? What does that look like for them? And I thought, you know what? Look, we communicate 10 milestones on every loan to our realtor partners. I'm going to turn that into a value proposition. So I put together a training guide for my realtor partners that I could give to my clients and the listing agents that said, we communicate on these 10 milestones of the loan as well as every Tuesday. You will never have to contact us on the status of a loan. We pride ourselves on excellent and clear communication to build trust with you and our clients. And this is one of our greatest strengths. So I took a natural strength and turned it into basically a marketing piece to build relationships in a deeper way. So think about what those could be for you. Your core strengths could be, you're uncanny at really being able to identify the value of a property, or maybe you're amazing at being able to see a property that, that on the outside looks like nuts and bolts, that needs a lot of work, but you can see its bones and you can sell its possibility, right? But what are your core strengths? Maybe you're a marketing expert. Maybe video is your thing and you're an amazing, you're communicating your strength through video. So think about what those are for you. And then I want you to think about your company's 3 greatest strengths, because we forget our company a lot of the time. But the reason this is so important, and the story I wanted to share with you, is as an originator, I had been tracking the #1 realtor in Manhattan Beach for 2 years. And I mean relentlessly. My partner and I either called him weekly, we texted him weekly, or we emailed him weekly. But for 2 years, he heard from us every single week, and he never responded. So most people, if you were trying to get a client and they never responded, or a business owner or somebody that you wanted to build a relationship with, and after 2 years, most people give up after 3 or 4 attempts, right? That's normal. We wanted this guy. So he didn't respond until he did. 2 years in, Sean responded to a text and said, I'll come to your office. I'll give you 15 minutes. And we'll take it from there. So he came to our office and he gave us 2 hours, and we completely connected in that meeting. And I said, why now, Sean? Like, why would you reach out now? He goes, because no one has ever continued to hammer me like you guys did for the last 2 years. And finally, my lender retired and I needed a new lender. And you were my first choice, because I figured if you were that tenacious to get my business, you would be that tenacious to close my client's loan. So I got really curious because Sean kind of came from nowhere and I couldn't figure out how he had moved into the top ranks and bypassed all these other realtors in our local market. And so he said, this is the difference. All the other realtors, when they go to the listing presentations, they sell their own strength. I sell my company's strength and it sets me apart. It was such an aha moment for me because look, we all do it, right? We go in and we puff our feathers and we're like, we're so great at this, this, and this, and we've sold this many homes and we know the market. And Sean sold the strength of his company and he stood out in the crowd. I actually asked him to come to my conference room one day and he delivered his listing presentation. I go, I would hire you in a New York second. He was that good, but he sold his company. So think about that the next time you give your listing presentation. It can be really powerful. So I wanted to just briefly talk about identifying your defining values. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but think about what your values really are in your life. Most people don't give any time to thinking about their values, but I really start with my clients on that because it's sort of the basis for everything. And it clearly is the basis for success. Because if you don't value wealth and success, the reality is if you don't value it, you're probably don't have activities that are aligned with that. And so we need to really get clear. If you don't value that, there's a really good chance you're not going to be a top producer. You know, we've got to have a value system because I believe the more people we serve, the more we make a difference in the world. And yes, money is a result, but money is not our why we do what we do, right? Money is a result. So when I talk about why you do what you do, to think about like this client that did his why video, it's such a compelling why video that I do ask most of my clients to do it. So you might want to jot down that you want to do a why video from the heart, like really from the heart, just 1 to 2 minutes, because I'm telling you, you throw $100 against that and get it out to your local market, you'll have so much activity. It's crazy what happens when you tap into why you do what you do. People want to be part of that experience and they want to share it with you. So I'm going to dive in here to connection to conversion. Now, these are very, very micro down to very short little versions of my trainings, but this is really how we maximize relationship economy. It's how we build deep and sustainable relationships, right? Is the way that we connect, and we can learn to connect on a much deeper level. Look, I know a lot of you are probably been in the business for 25 years. I have a lot of long-term successful people that I coach. And what happens to people over time is they get worn down. Many of you may feel absolutely exhausted right now. Some people from this last year, it's been mentally exhausting, physically exhausting. I bet half my clients look great on the outside and they're like near the breaking point, right below the surface. COVID kind of did that to us. It was a really tough year for a lot of people. So even though it was a lucrative year, it's really been tough emotionally. And so some people just feel burnt out. And one of my clients yesterday is like, I'm really not that nice anymore. Like I have the patience of a gnat, you know, and I'm realizing I'm short with people. I'm assertive. I don't want to deal with difficult people anymore. I don't even want to talk to them. And so we got to get people back into their heart and out of their head. We got to get you to take a breath and think about, how are you showing up in the world? Not just to your clients. How are you showing up to your family? If you have a team, how are you showing up every day to your team? Are you an energetic drain to the people around you? Or maybe you have energetic drains around you that you need to address as well, right? So I just want you to really think that in this digital world, and this is going to continue, our desire is so deep right now for human connection. That's why everybody's just clamoring to get out of being under lockdown, because we really, as human beings, we are wired for connection. We are wired for relationship. And so I say lean into this full bore. You know, think about what you can do right now to be a deeper connector. And we're going to talk about what you're doing to stay in touch with your past clients. But look, your first meeting sets the tone for that future relationship. And if you don't go into that first meeting prepared and in a connection zone, you know, you may blow the one chance you have to have this amazing connection in that first meeting. You know, I talked to a lot of top producers across the nation, and one of the things that they've identified is that they want to create a magical moment with their potential client in that first conversation. I've done the same thing for years, right? If you can create a point of connection, someplace where you have a common ground, research your clients, go online, go to their social platforms, find out what's important to them before you sit down and meet with them, whether it's virtually or in person, because learn something about them. Because first of all, when someone researches me and they tell me they tell me something that they found out about me, what do you think happens? I'm like, wow, they're interested in me. We all want to have someone that's interested. I'm paying a lot more attention to someone if they're trying to get my business, if they've done their homework and they're paying attention to me. So research your clients. Social profiles are so easy right now to see what people are about. I'm a huge fan of friend requesting everybody you want to have a relationship with and beginning to communicate on their social profiles weekly. And within 45 days, I promise you, they'll know who you are and it will not be a cold call anymore. That's just the fact of the matter. I get so much business that way. It's ridiculous and it works. So I want you to think about how you can create a higher level of value and a deeper level of connection with every single person you meet by getting out of your head and dropping into your heart, because we are human beings and we crave connection. Now, this book also has been around for a million years. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's one of those things that is a great reread, because at the end of the day, we want to create a relatable experience. I've been told my whole life I need to write the sequel to this book, and I will one day write, the relatability factor, because that's really what it is. We need to create ways to relate to people on a more meaningful way. So obviously, being very genuinely interested in people is one way. I see videos. I saw 4 videos. My clients send me videos all the time to review. 4 videos yesterday. None of them were smiling. Okay, it didn't even matter what they said. No one really cares, right? I mean, it didn't matter what they said, but they all were stone-faced. They didn't smile. So if there's one tip of the day, smile in your videos. It's great. Remembering someone's name, calling them my name. It's such a powerful thing. Language is really powerful. Be a good listener. My connection to conversion training is about asking quality questions and being a good listener and talking in terms of the other person's interests. Find the common ground and make them feel important. So this is what I want to share with you on connection to conversion. I'll show you, I'm going to run through this very quickly, but it's about getting to know people on a deeper level. So when you're meeting someone for the very first time and you have an opportunity at that first impression, I'm going to encourage you in that first meeting. Now I get it. If your first meeting is a listing presentation and you've got to share all of your great gifts, I understand that. But if you're meeting them ahead of that, or you're meeting a potential buyer, get to know them as people. There'll be plenty of time for you to share all your generous gifts and all you can do for them as a realtor partner. But the reality is getting to know them as human beings and caring about them and their life and their journey will connect people to you forever. You will build a life relationship. So I want to talk to you about asking quality questions to learn their personal story. I've got 10 of them here. You can make up whichever ones you want, but these are some that I use when I sit down with a potential client for the first time. Is I just start with the beginning of their life. I go sequentially through their life. Now, when I'm doing this, if I'm meeting with a realtor, I would ask you about your real estate business. I would ask about your business first. I would get to know you on a professional level, and then I would transition to your story, to your personal story. But if you're meeting, let's say, a buyer for the first time, maybe you really do just ask about where they were born and raised, did they go to school, college, how long have they lived here? So very basic questions. But let me tell you, the biggest question of all is the last question, which is talk to me about one of the biggest challenges you've ever had to overcome. I'm jumping to that in the essence of time, but I will tell you that question alone has bonded me to people in the very first meeting. I could tell you at least 20 stories right here off the bat. I'm going to share one really quickly. I was trying to build a relationship with a manager of a very large real estate company. She had 250 agents. I had started following her on Facebook, like I said, for about 30 days, but I really liked her. Like, I loved the way she showed up. I loved her energy. And so I called her about 30 days in and I said, hey, Sherry, I know I've been stalking you on Facebook, but I just really like your energy. I like how you show up in the world. I'd love to get to know a little bit more about you and your business. Would you be willing to grab lunch together next week? I'd like to learn more about you. And much to my surprise, she said yes. So I went into that meeting and we did the quality questions. And I started with her business and went through that kind of sequentially and came back to her personal story. And when I got to the biggest challenge she had ever overcome, she started to cry. Very true story. She is a dear friend of mine to this day. She said the biggest challenge I've ever had to overcome is the first child that I delivered. I lost my baby at 2 weeks old. And I'm a mom of 3 children. So this touched my heart in a really big way. And she said that was the most difficult thing I've ever had to overcome. And I got tears in my eyes. And I said, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine I can't even imagine. I said, would you mind if I ask what happened? So she shared the story of what happened. He had a heart condition. But she went into our energy went into a vortex. We started sharing some very deep life personal experiences. I can tell you when I left that first meeting someone for the very first time, she hugged me and said, I feel like I just met my new best friend. I got a thank you note handwritten from her the very next day, thanking me for that opportunity. And she has become a very dear person, friend, and business partner in my life. So it's so much more fulfilling for us to build relationship. This is a realtor that I've had a relationship with for years, kind of helped her out when she got started. She's now a complete and utter rock star. But, let's talk about stories of our life instead of just how important we are. It'll connect us and bond us in a much more meaningful way. So I want you to just ask yourself how you can bring more value, how you can contribute and grow in a bigger way, how you can connect on a deeper level, what things you think you might be able to do that maybe you're not doing now. How can you make a greater impact? Look, as realtors and mortgage originators, we change people's lives with what we do. Our teams need to know how they contribute to people's lives. We literally change people's financial futures forever. Real estate has changed my entire financial future. I would not be where I am today without it. And how can I take this relationship to the next level? How can you build a deeper relationship? Because you know this quote, but people will never forget. They will forget what you say. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So really quick, Dee, how to execute the top 5 client program is just about reconnecting with your past clients. And my experience is this, and I've had so many experiences I could share, where I get a call from a past client. This happened just before I left my origination business to coach full time. And I had a past client, walk into my office, making an offer on a $2 million property that he had seen on Sunday. And he walked into my office and I remembered who his realtor was. And I said, why are you not working with her? And he said, because I have not heard from her in 5 years. Now, I want to tell you, there is a stat about this. Your 90% of your clients want to refer you and would work with you again and had a positive experience in working with you, 90%. But they don't remember your name after 1 year. They don't remember you. And I cannot tell you how many realtors I've asked the question, what CRM are you using? What database management system are you using? How often are you staying in front of your clients? And frequently, they are not, but they're good intentioned to do so. So I want you to really think about that. If you are one that does not have a consistent CRM, change it today. It's inexpensive. It's the best money you've ever spent. Statistically, we get 20% of our client base every single year in new business, and we have to stay in front of them because they want to work with you again. So I really highly recommend that pick a day of the week, do your own time block, and call 5 past clients and just check in. This doesn't need to be hard. And I'm going to give you a really simple, you can take a picture of the slide, really simple way to ask for referrals if you haven't talked to somebody in a while, or if you're in the middle of doing a transaction with them. But this is one, I just wanted to kind of put this in front of you and get my little face out of the way here. Hi, this is Cindy Ertman. I had the great opportunity to assist you on the purchase of your home. I was thinking about you recently and just wanted to reach out to you and check in to see how you're doing with your home and your mortgage. There's no rush to get back to me immediately, but I would love to connect and see how you're doing and give you an update on the market. Now, as an originator, I sent this very script out to my 4,000 past clients. I had 59 people respond and I got 9 loans. From this message, that's how simple, just checking in to connect. And here's another script that I love this. So this is one that I've used many times and it's so simple. People don't know how to ask for business, right? But this is a script. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but instead of asking them for who do you know who needs to sell or buy a house, because a lot of people don't know someone that needs to sell or buy a house. But hey, I've loved having the opportunity to work with you. I want to work with more people just like you. I'd love for you to introduce me to a couple of people that I could potentially serve down the road. Now, I thought about this. If I was asked that question, I'd give them 2 names. I'd give them my CPA and my financial planner. I'd give them a couple names if I loved my realtor. I'd be absolutely. You want business people? I'll introduce you to a couple of people that I know. Absolutely, but we have to ask, right? But I love this because you're not asking for, do you know someone that needs to buy a home? You're asking for, introduce me to 2 people that I could serve in the future. And now you've got the ability to reach out to them, get them into your database, stay in touch with them, and expand your network. We typically do not tap into our network like we need to. So we know you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get them interested in you. Take your energy and shine it all in front of you. Make it about them. It is so powerful in terms of connection. So really, last principle here is elevate and expand your virtual brand. Just be aware of it. I know most of you probably already are, clearly, because we are living in a virtual world, but there's still a lot of people that will not connect on Zoom, and it's really held them back, or whatever your, conferencing center is. Just be aware. I mean, the background behind me, I fortunately kicked out my son from the bedroom and redid, this office right before COVID hit. But be aware, there's all kinds of virtual backgrounds if you don't have a great background. But I'm just going to go through a couple of things that I want you to think about. Set up your reverse office. How do we look in front of the camera? Yeah, maybe upgrade your camera. Maybe add a McDaddy, microphone so your sound is great. One of my friends transitioned her stylist business and built waistupwardrobe.com when COVID hit. How cool is that? So she dresses people from the waist up in business. It's brilliant. She's down at the bottom picture in her slippers. It's awesome. Position your head so that you've got just a little bit of space between your head and the top. I cannot tell you how many people are on my Zoom training calls and all I see is their head at the bottom of the screen. Very bad. We gotta show up. I've got 2 ring lights, one on either side here. You need quality video, you need quality lighting, you need a quality microphone, and you need to be aware of your background. Very simple stuff. And really quickly, I wanted to share this. Alexa Fisher is an amazing actress by background. I've had her do a lot of trainings for me on creating impactful videos. She is a rock star. This is her very simple system. And it's just 4 things. State your point. Why is it important for them to know? What's the most vivid examples you can share to support the idea? And wrap up by reiterating the point, right? It's very simple. So if you don't know how to put video together, very, very simple to do it this way. And these are just some ways you can introduce yourself via video. Introducing yourself to a new client via video instead of text or an email is so much more personal. They will bond to you just like that. If they can feel your energy, maybe sending a video to congratulate a client if you're not meeting with them live. Talking to people about market updates. There's lots of ways you can use video, right? If you want any more information, I do have a great free download on my site at cindyertman.com, which is 7 instant skills to ignite your life, business, and income. I'd love to share with you. There's a ton of webinar replays on there too that might give you some success ideas. And I'm all about helping and supporting the people that I serve. So I just want you to be aware today that transformation is conscious change. It's helping people see the world in a different way. It's tapping into connection because that is the best way to build your business, as you all know, but getting very intentional about the ways in which you can do that and show up from a place of deeper value, because your life is really about the people you serve. And look, we spent half of our life trying to fit in, right? We go through middle school and high school. All we're trying to do is fit in, but to be successful in business, we've got to stand out from the crowd. So tapping in to your greatest strengths, who, you are as a person, getting clear on that and shining a brighter light on it, because sharing your gifts, people want to know what you're an expert at. Shine a light on your greatest strengths and see what happens to your income, to your business, to your relationships. So you were not born to fit in. You were born to stand out. And I wish you incredible success. And now let me just I can disconnect here from the screen. Be helpful.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that. I feel like this is one you guys need to watch again, maybe 2 or 3 times, because there's so much in there. And what you just said, Cindy, there's 25, there's 30 things. I'm trying to take notes as quick as I can. I'm not going to be able to take it all away and use all of it, but I'm going to take 2 or 3 things and put them into play. And I'll give you guys some of the highlights of some of the things that resonated with me. The why video to the community we serve. Love that one. I'm stealing that one for sure. We'll produce that next week and do that. It's not all like brand new information, but it brings you right back into focus, the power of connection. Research potential clients. I'm bad at that. If I'm going to meet somebody for the first time, I should just take 30 seconds and research them. What a great idea that is. It's all about them. I know that, but just it's a nice refresher that's how you need to do it. And then get to know them as people. And I like that as well. What's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? That's awesome. And intentional choice. There's 30 more things I could share with you guys, but the way I'm breaking this down is just put those simple practices or whatever notes you took into play, and just try some of this stuff. It is all about connection. And I appreciate the insight, Cindy. I really do.
Well, thank you. It's so fun to be here. And if anybody has any questions at all, I'd love to be here to support you.
Perfect. Everybody, that is Cindy Ertman, founder, CEO of the Defining Difference. Thanks for being on. And wait, we got 2 questions in the chat. Hold on. Let me catch those before we go. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see what the questions are. Well, we have access to the scripts you discussed today. You put that on your last slide, but if anybody wants those scripts, how can they get them?
I'm happy to email you the scripts. Absolutely. I'm happy to put together. In fact, I will write it down right now since my team is on the line. We will put together a little training guide for you. How's that?
That sounds.
And I can get the scripts. And you know what I'll include, since you were asking about CRMs. I actually have a guide to put together for CRM systems and CRMs for realtors. So I'll put the recommended resources for CRM systems that a lot of the people that I work with use. So I've got that as well. So I'll include a training guide for the scripts and the CRM systems for sure. I'm happy to share all that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Cindy, great knowledge. Very good stuff. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for being on.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me. I'll have an awesome weekend. To your success.
Take care.
Bye-bye.